Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm the Reverend Lisa Bovee Kemper. My pronouns are she and her. For just a few more hours, I am the interim minister of this congregation. Challenged by our liberating faith, we discover deeper spiritual meaning. To each and every one of you, whether you are here on the live stream or here in person, we are pleased to have guests with us in the room and participating virtually. I encourage you, if you'd like to find out more about the congregation or get more connected, to reach out to our Director of Member Relations, Kelly Green. Her email and photo are on the screen. We have large print orders of service, personal hearing assistance devices, and an elevator available. There's also a hearing loop in our alternate worship space, the Bernstein Room, which also is a little bit of a lower sensory experience than in this room. We have coloring pages and fidgets for all ages in the vestibule, if that is useful to you. Again, a warm welcome to each and every one of you, whether you are here in person or joining via live stream. Whether today is your first or 1,000th Sunday among us, we are stronger because you are here. We are one people of many beliefs, origins, identities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Now I invite you to take a deep breath and settle in as our service begins. Our call to worship this morning is by my colleague, Gretchen Haley, in honor of the anniversary yesterday of the Stonewall riots and the last day today of June, which we honor as Pride Month. It's okay to go slow in your letting go, in letting your arms fall to your sides, in finding your sigh, and then your shout. Your shout of joy and praise, wonder and awe. The world teaches us to defend and protect, hide and get by, rush and push through. It's okay to take your time in trusting that there's no hidden agenda except the learning to love and be loved. It's not easy, we know, to let love in, to let love do its work upon your heart, healing backwards and forwards, softening cynicism, releasing judgment, finding forgiveness, and believing not all is lost. Finding that you have always, always been worthy of love, just as you are. That we are all worthy of love just as we are. Queer and complicated, messy and miraculous, creatively gendered, caring and kind of confused. It's okay to go slow. Just don't stop. Keep moving toward this light that wants only to love every part of you. Longing to call your scars sacred and your hope holy, ready to brave this world in all of its brokenness, armed only with truth and the power of a community held in promise. The vision of a world unafraid to change, to keep changing, to hold and be held across every wave and rush of wind. Come, my friends, let us worship together. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 126, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. You don't have to sing. All you have to do chalice after I say those things. As we gather together for worship this morning, being both near and far, we light our chalice as we do each week. It is a symbol of our faith. May its light be a beacon of hope for the many, those who feel lost, those who feel threatened, those who feel tired, those who are uncertain. May our beacon of hope help you find a home, help you feel safe, give you respite, and honor your searching mind and spirit.
Hold on, guys, I gotta open docs. Hi, my name is Lauderbaugh, and I use he, him pronouns. Please ignore the hat, it's kind of my trademark. It's a really weird thing to think about how the entirety of a crowd can change within such a small amount of time. For example, if I go back to Northwest School of the Arts in even 2 years, most of the people that I knew would have already graduated, and the environment would be completely different because the people I've met are gone. I recently went back to my elementary school after a decade or so, and it was familiar, and at the very same time, so very foreign to me. There was a new principal, but the secretary from my time there was the same. The people I'd met there were long gone, but the building still looked the same, and all of the stuff I'd remembered in my childhood years were in the exact same spots. Aside from finding out that my favorite building that I was in for first grade had been shut down due to growing black mold, nothing had changed physically, but the entire vibe of the school was completely different than it had been a decade prior. To imagine a place such as ours in about 20 years is about the same. There will be people who stay, and there will be people who move away and have to join a different community, people who get too busy to come to most services, and most likely even some people who will pass. But the building will probably be relatively the same. It's a weird thought to see the places you've loved completely desolate of the people you've known, but to have the same architecture and the same physical structure, but that the emotional structure you thought it needed. In 100 years, a new generation will most likely have come into the building, and walking in, you would see an entirely different crowd, a whole different group of people who would change the way the building feels, perhaps even the way that the building looks. Despite all of that, it will still be the same sacred ground that we know today, and there will still be people who worship here, because it is that kind of place. We come here to worship, and other people can feel that it is a place of worship, and so they will worship too. Even though the people we love leave, it won't stop being a community. It will just be a different feeling, because each person has their unique personality that they add to a group. We are all still here, but Lisa's personality is big and bright, and she's done so much for our congregation. So without her, it'll feel different. If she decides to come visit, I will still be here, even though I'm definitely going to be juggling an adult life in 20 years. Okay? So if she comes back in 20 years, because I doubt we're both going to be here in 100, let me know. Thank you.
We build on foundations we did not lay. We warm ourselves by fires we did not light. We sit in the shade of trees we did not plant. We drink from wells we did not dig. We profit from persons we did not know. We are ever bound in community. May it always be so, because this is as it should be. Together, we are more than any one person could be. Together, we can build across the generations. Together, we can renew our hope and faith in the life that is yet to unfold. Together, we can heed the call to a ministry of care and justice. We are ever bound in community. May it always be so. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 368. Now let us sing.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm John Burns, and my pronouns are he and him. There are things known, and there are things unknown, and in between are the doors. Now that quote is generally attributed to Jim Morrison, the lead singer of the Doors, although William Blake and Aldous Huxley are sometimes also given credit for that. No matter who said it, I've always liked the visual of how you move from the known, which is familiar, traditional, usually comfortable, into the unknown, which is very likely to be different and possibly disconcerting, at least upon initial exposure. The door is the means through which you make that move. As a congregation, we've been opening doors and occasionally passing through them, mirroring the progression of the larger world, and I too have opened and stepped through a few over the last few years. A fairly simple one is personal pronouns, starting with being open to the idea that there are more than two basic sets, and then, for me, incorporating that into my awareness and into my speech. By now it seems very familiar, and I'm almost surprised when someone steps up to a microphone and doesn't share their pronouns, but that's not certainly a doorway that everyone has stepped through. As an aside, how great is it that prepositions are no longer a bad thing to end a sentence with? I just did that twice in a row. They unlocked that door that was locked for like 40 years, and I just stepped on through it. You can all go there too. I opened the door of changing careers just over 2 years ago, which at age 55 required taking a number of deep breaths before passing through to quell my fears of the unknown. Moving from the room which had provided a very lucrative, comfortable, and eventually unfulfilling career for the past 25 years into a room of part-time work for a small business meant really thinking about what I value and being willing to tune out the consumer siren song of money to buy things is the point of life. I can wholeheartedly state that I have found the new room to be much more comfortable, perhaps not as large and glamorous as the corporate world room, but more real, more enduring, the kind of room you can age well in. Another significant door that I stepped through just over a year ago in this very room was marrying my wife, Mary. Whom I also met in this very room, thanks to Lisa Lackey. While this is neither of our first marriage, making that commitment is always a unique door with new joys and challenges, mainly joys for me. I'm very grateful that Reverend Lisa was the person who formally ushered us through that door, and indeed she's been a very important door opener for all of us these past 2 years. A great example is expanding the participation of children in the service. In the not too distant past, we were used to a somewhat formal living room where kids were allowed, but it was primarily a sitting room for adults. Kids were expected to sit still and not fidget, and there wasn't a lot for them to do. Thanks to Lisa and Paula's work opening a door, we're now in a family room where people can interact and play more. I'm not making a value judgment about the rooms, but it's nice to know both are available, and we spend a time in each one enough to know what it's like. Difficult conversations is another area where I firmly believe Lisa was able to open a door and usher us through. As a community, we've had to work through the challenge of how to live together with opposing viewpoints, which is a destination our country as a whole has absolutely not found. I was particularly impressed by a conversation which arose from turmoil about how we communicate on social media. We had a meeting, again in this very room, and after Reverend Lisa provided some background and framework and shared some thoughts, she sat down among us, just in the middle, facing the same direction as all of us, and participated rather than managed that discussion. It underscored that we are a community, not an autocracy, that each of us has a voice that needs to be present in the conversation, and that speaking one's truth can be both liberating and enlightening. I had not known that such a door existed here until Lisa opened it, and now we're exploring that new space together. Another very significant door we found with Lisa's help and our incredible search team is the door leading us to a new minister. We've opened the door, but we won't be stepping through until she joins us later in the summer. While we don't know exactly what we'll find in the new room, we've made a decision with a great deal of thought and planning and a remarkable degree of unanimity that we want to pass through together, and so we will. Reverend Lisa is walking through a new door into the next chapter of her ministry, returning to a part of the country she knows well, and I wish for her that the room on the other side is interesting, meaningful, reasonably comfortable, and sustains her and her family. As we all leave the sanctuary at the end of the service today, please take a moment to reflect on the doors you are currently searching for, or perhaps have found but not opened yet, and know that most rooms hold more than one person, so you can always invite some friends here to walk through with you. May it be so.
Thank you. Such a beautiful song. And so The end is here. It's time to say goodbye. It is not a surprise to anyone. I came, as they say, pre-fired. I've been leaving since I arrived here in 2022. It is one of the paradoxes of ministry, and interim ministry in particular, as much as one must give one's whole heart and put down roots in a place to minister well. One must know at the same time that ministers always leave. The congregation remains. It is something of a Dread Pirate Roberts situation where we carry the role and change it, hand it from person to person. And that is true for you as a congregation as well. As Dylan said, in 2 years, this group will be different. The next time you gather, it will not be exactly the same group. It is never exactly the same. And that is one of the many gifts of religious community. We get water from wells we did not dig. We build on foundations we did not lay. Perhaps it's that reading, which I love, is a more intense version of the adage my parents taught me, that you always leave the trail or the campground at least as nice or in a little bit better shape than it was when you arrived. You pack out your trash, you clear the branches. That has surely been my intent as I have walked among you. Leave-taking often feels like the stuff of legend, big milestones and life changes, the hero's journey, taking off to seek the Holy Grail. But as it turns out, as John said about the doors, the small d doors, not the band. We experience endings and beginnings over and over in our daily lives. And if we pay attention, we can use those daily experiences to learn about the bigger ones. Some endings we choose, some are chosen for us. We leave a job, a marriage, a friendship. We move houses, change therapists, or complete a time-consuming work project. We finish an exciting Netflix show, the last slice of birthday cake gets eaten, or the curtain comes down on a much anticipated and practiced for performance. We leave the office at the end of the workday, we put the kids to get to bed, or we hug a loved one before they go through airport security. And it may seem trite, but every ending contains a beginning. Even death, perhaps the most final of all endings for surviving loved ones, is the beginning of life without the person who has died in it. Sarah Lawrence Lightfoot, in her book Exit, says, "I think there must be some relationship between our developing the habit of small goodbyes and our ability to master and mark the larger farewells. A connection between the micro and the macro that somehow makes the latter smoother and more bearable because you have successfully accomplished the former." My exit from this congregation is illuminated by the beginnings we will each find on the other side of it. We will miss one another and the successes that we have created together. You will begin your settled ministry with Reverend Amanda and continue to integrate your interim learnings, your mission and your vision and your covenant. My family and I will embark on a new journey together as I begin my new position in Columbia, Maryland. Some of the endings we face are big life changes like this one. Some are simply everyday occurrences, and they all influence us. There's a contradiction inherent in the exit. In most cases, we remember both the moment of exit and the journey of leave-taking. The exit itself exists in a moment of vivid memory, while the journey that got us there or the journey that we begin by taking the step over the exit threshold is more visible only with some emotional distance. Lawrence Lightfoot continues, these moments are pregnant with paradox. The counterpoint and convergence of vulnerability and toughness, inertia and movement, urgency and patience, chaos and control. I always imagine, she says, I imagine these moments in bold relief, standing out in technicolor, refracted images reconstructed with complexity, nuance, and subtlety. One such moment in my life, as she suggests, remains a vivid technicolor memory 30 years later. I had planned to take a gap year between high school and college, and it was time to go to the airport. My stomach was in knots, and I was, it says quietly weeping in this script that I wrote here, but as I recall it, I was sobbing in the seat of the plane, watching, because I could see my parents and my younger sister in the window, because it was back in the, 1900s, when you could accompany your person to the gate. So they were in the window waving, and I was, I imagine that it was pouring down rain. I don't really think it was. I was headed to a 2-day orientation, after which I would board another plane and begin my year as an exchange student in Germany. I'd spent weeks preparing, whittling down the essentials until they would fit into one giant duffel bag and a couple of boxes that would be shipped later. I had learned about my host family and gotten gifts and all of those things. I had even gotten the little cooler of my allergy shot serum to take with me on the plane, because it was all the things. Contact lens solution, because we weren't sure they would have the right contact lens solution. All those things. I was ready. Except I hadn't told anyone that I didn't want to go. I mean, I really, really didn't want to go. I was terrified, crystal clear in my heart that I was not ready to go away so far for so long. But everyone around me had been so excited for me. What a great opportunity, they said. It seemed like such a great idea when they talked about it, that I hadn't listened to my own voice. I hadn't spoken up. So there I was at a college campus on Long Island, getting oriented, ready for a new beginning, and I was absolutely certain that I was not getting on that plane to Germany the next day. I went to the program director, who had heard this before. She patted me on the back and told me to go back to my room in the dorm, make a pro-con list, and sleep on it. I did that. I remained certain that I was not getting on the plane. The next morning, I called my mom. I couldn't reach her. Remember, this is the 1900s. I had a calling card. I called from the office phone at the college. I called my dad, but he was in a meeting. I finally reached him after a while, but it took a while. So it was only after I had to make my own decision. It was the stay or go moment. And I had told the program director that no thank you, I was not going, and she had arranged for me to fly home. When I reached my dad, he told me in a rare, stern voice that he thought I was making a horrible mistake. He told me, Lisa, I think you need to turn around and get on the plane. But it was too late. And besides, I'd made my choice. I was barely 18, and it was the first decision that I had ever made on my own without my parents' input, and more importantly, without their support. I hadn't been able to reach either one of them again before it was time to get back on the plane to go home, despite multiple attempts to reach them using that calling card at that airport payphone. I didn't know if anyone would be there to pick me up. And the last words I'd heard from either of my parents were my dad's admonition. And I'll just say, my dad does not offer admonitions, really, ever. But I knew in my gut, in my heart, that exiting that program was the right decision for me. And of course, it turned out to be a huge symbolic exit too. It was in many ways my exit from childhood. It was a turning point, the beginning of claiming my agency as an adult, learning that my gut knows things and that I can listen to it and hear what it has to say, that I can trust it and believe it. Understanding that I could make decisions that other people didn't agree with, even people that were so important to me, like my parents. I could make decisions that other people didn't agree with and learn how to chart my own path. I've kept a few learnings from that experience. I still often make pro-con lists when I'm making decisions. That program director showed me a new tool. Listening to my gut is an essential piece of my process now as well. And I also know that my parents will always come back around and support me, even if they don't agree with my decision. My dad was, of course, right at that gate when I got off the plane, ready to scoop me into a big hug and drive me home. The way forward from there was not simple or easy. Of course, we had deferred my college admission. There was a deposit that was kind of expensive So pro tip, if you're gonna bail out of an overseas program, do it before you leave the United States. Because if you do that, you can get everything but your deposit back. If you are over the ocean when you decide, the whole thing is a wash. We stumbled through it together and made it happen. Lawrence Lightfoot says, at the very center of each life stage is the choice each of us must make, consciously or unconsciously, between change and constancy, progression and regression, counterbalancing forces pulling us in opposite directions, demanding our allegiance and attention. In order to grow, people must resolve the contrary, competing pulls by ultimately exiting, resisting, and surmounting the gravitational pulls that would maintain stasis and keep us in the same place. As we say our goodbyes today, I want to commend you, all of you, for the hard work that you have done together these past 2 years. I offer you my gratitude for the ways that you have welcomed my family, loved and cared for me and us. And I want to tell you that I am so very proud of the work that you have done. It hasn't been easy, and the interim period is really only the beginning of lasting change. But you have worked hard to claim your identity as a community, and even harder to practice how to process grief and conflict in healthy ways. I have just a few final things that I want to offer you as I go. The first is embrace your shared ministry. It's going to take a little while for you to get used to what that means, what it means to share the ministry with your settled minister, with the staff, with the teams, and all of you. When someone asks you to volunteer for something, say yes, but only if you really want to. And by that I mean two things. One, This community is yours. It belongs to you, and it only exists because of the commitment that each and every one of you brings. But the second piece of that is that it's no good to have volunteers who feel strong-armed or guilted into serving and who aren't really into the commitments that they've made. So if you're asked to volunteer for something and it isn't your thing, give a gracious no, and then go find something that is your thing. The second thing I want to say to you is that you need to remember that the children and the youth aren't your future. They are the present. They will become the future, but they are here now. They are participating in this congregation now. Help them, support them, get to know them. Be the guy or gal or, I just screwed that up. Be the person. See, I am Gen X. I learned that guy was gender neutral, right? But how many of you are boomer women? You don't have to raise your hands. There are a couple of you in here. If I call you a guy, you're gonna be ready to fight me, because what's the opposite of a guy? A gal. And you guys, words are hard.
Say no. Say no.
Y'all, right? See, I'm freaking out because I'm moving north. Be the person that one of these children and youth knows well enough to ask you to write them a recommendation. Get to know them now, because they're here now. Really see them and let them help you. Let them partner with you. You won't regret it, and neither will they. The next thing is go deeper. No, really deeper than that. Going deep together is the greatest opportunity we have in religious community. You've gathered here for fellowship and fun, to connect and reflect on and the relationships you build here are special. This community is intentionally built to hold all of you, both all of you and all of you. Go deeper, ask questions, engage together in the work of personal, societal, and environmental transformation. And finally, trust the process, trust each other, and believe in yourselves. When I came here 2 years ago, you did not believe in yourselves. I see you learning how to believe in yourselves, and as I go, I want you to know that I believe in you, and I will continue to hold you in my heart and believe in you from afar. You already have everything, every single thing that you need to be the best UUCC you can be together. I believe in you. I love you, and I believe in your ability to work together, to work with Amanda, and to build a future together. Beloved friends, it has been a true honor to serve among you. Amen, and blessed be. I made it through the sermon without crying, but you just got me. Thank you.
They say a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. so too does a life of abundance begin with a single act of giving. We're grateful to our members who pledge their generous financial support and make regular contributions to sustain the work of our congregation. Today we're sharing our plate collection with We Rock Charlotte, which teaches youth the confidence to rock their voice, standing for themselves and each other. While the offering is collected, you are invited to come forward and light a candle, honoring a milestone, concern, or celebration.
Let's take a moment to observe the flickering flames. The ones that recall and connect to so many concerns and sorrows and celebrations and milestones in this congregation, and the way that they are connected to and mirrored by candles in so many other congregations. This shared ritual hears and holds the complexity of our lives. What a blessing that is. Amen, and blessed be. All right, here we go.
Reverend Lisa, 2 years ago, you were hired to walk with us through this time of transition and interim ministry. Although we recognize that change is ongoing, we also understand that this period of transition is complete. So we take this time now to formally recognize the end of our ministry together.
For 2 years, you have welcomed me into the moments of your lives, both sacred and mundane, times of crisis and celebration. You have offered me the free pulpit. Do I need to do something? No? Okay. All right. You have offered me the free pulpit and the opportunity to challenge and inspire you on Sundays. You have asked me to provide leadership in working through your losses and learning to engage conflict with directness and compassion. You have invited me to join you in your intersectional justice commitments as we build a better world together. You have asked me to provide spiritual leadership to this community. I am grateful for the ways that my leadership has been embraced, my challenges to you warmly considered, and our mutual commitment to Unitarian Universalism held in care. I acknowledge that I have made mistakes, and for that ask your forgiveness. As I leave, I will carry all that I have learned from you as your interim minister. Can we get the response on the slide?
We receive your thanks and accept that you are now going to serve Unitarian Universalism in a new way. We express our gratitude for your ministry among us. Reverend Lisa, do you release the community into our own care as preparations are made to welcome our newly settled minister? In service to the flourishing of the fellowship and its new ministry,
Community, not fellowship. I copied it from the interim book. You're supposed to be community, because it's your community. Sorry, that was my mistake.
In service to the flourishing of the new fellowship, community and its new ministry, do you promise to no longer provide pastoral or any other ministerial services for UUCC or its members, and to create and abide by a covenant with the incoming minister as is required by your code of professional practice?
I do, and I will.
The light of our shared ministry is extinguished today. At this same time, our respective ministries will continue separately. Our separate fires will bring light to the world in new and unique ways. we light 2 candles from the chalice to represent, one to represent the ministry.
That's okay.
That you take with us, and one to represent your ministry as a community.
Yeah, that's okay. So just to be clear, the first candle was to represent the ministry that I am taking with me.
This is Mike.
Mike? Remember my first sermon here when I said we were going to make mistakes together? I just, wanted to go out with a bang. So the first candle represents the ministry that I am taking with me, and the second candle represents your ministry as a community. They were lit from the chalice because that is the flame that guides us all. And then let us all say together.
With appreciation for all that we have shared, with hope in the present and faith in our future, we look forward to new beginnings. With joy and with gratitude, we now begin a new journey. May it be so. Okay, we are going to go off script for just a moment. 2 years ago, our community was poised for change. And you were chosen to help lead us through that change. For my part, I thought, okay, well, here she comes. She'll do her interim thing. We will conduct our settled minister search, get a new minister, and we'll be done. Fortunately, you came with the vision and the wisdom and the love and the commitment that you knew that we would need to thrive through this period of interim ministry. And John articulately described some of the most impactful effect you had on us, and the most inspiring, at least to many of us, the most inspiring of your acts was the commitment you made to illuminate that part of our mission, which is to cultivate courageous connections. I hadn't thought so deeply about what that meant until I witnessed you cultivating with great courage the connections that we needed to bind the wounds that we didn't know we had, and to move us on our way to where we are now. And with that, we would like to present to you a token of our gratitude. If you would read that for us. I'll read it.
Oh, you made it?
Yeah.
It says, Reverend Lisa Bovee Kemper, cultivator of courageous connections. Unitarian Universalist, Community of Charlotte, 2022 to 24. Shall we now sing Let's sing.
So we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to sing a song together. We're going to ask you to rise in body or spirit. In order to learn the song, and if you'll advance the slide, there will be words. And what we'll do to help you learn is do a couple of lines, and then you will repeat them, and then we'll do a couple of lines. And once you learn the tune of the first verse, it's the same throughout the song. So we'll learn the first verse together, and then we'll go back to the beginning.
Now
extinguishing the chalice as we say the words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. I leave you with my faith, hope, and love in your ability to cultivate curiosity and courage and wonder and joy and do hard things together. I was going to sing a song, just a little short one, and it all went out of my head. Go in peace, friends, and always with love.